Welcome to 30 Minutes of Faith. We're pleased to have with us today Edrine Ddungu, who is a Vice President of the Interfaith Council of Greater Sacramento and busily involved in other things that have to do with faith, and we'll talk about that for a minute. First of all, tell us where you were born and raised and where you grew up.
I was born in Uganda. Kampala is the capital city, and that's where I was born, and I've spent 25 years of my life in Uganda and moved to United States.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I do. We were 16 children, 8 girls and 8 boys.
Where do you fit?
That's a tough question for you. I'm right in the middle, right there.
And are all of them in the United States, or some of them still in Uganda?
No, we are 3 of us here in the United States, but one passed away, and then the rest are in Uganda.
Are your parents still alive?
My mother is still alive, but my father passed away. He's deceased.
And what caused you to come to the United States?
Well, excuse me. That is, normally when it comes to that question, it is very hard for me in certain moments, but I'll try to answer in a very small bit as I could to summarize what it is. It came as a result of the country went into turmoil, and I was going through school, and then my father got murdered, and I tried to leave the country, but I wasn't allowed to go. And so my mother took me to the next door, which was Kenya. I stayed there for three years, and I needed to come to the US, where it was going to be feasible for me to do my education. But that was never an easy journey, as my father, who would have been the sole provider of my education, was murdered, and then I had to take it on by myself and brought myself here. And the first thing I did was to ask for admission in the school, and that's where I was admitted. So the embassy gave me a visa to come to school for study. And I came to do medicine as my concentration in education. And this, in the middle of that, I changed it as a result of not being able to get funds from the home country. Had to work and go to school, so it was just too much for me. I changed it to business administration.
And where did you go to school in the U.S.?
I went to first I went to City College, and then I moved to American River College, and that's where I graduated from, American River College, and then to California State University.
How did you come to Sacramento? Why Sacramento?
Sacramento, because that it was, Sacramento was, I had my uncle who was here during Nixon's time, and he found out that this was the place that had almost close climate to the one in Uganda. So he kind of marketed Sacramento, because he went through California State University and then to Mark George School of Law. And he was a well-educated man, trained in also in Scotland Yard as a detective.
Really?
Yes. And so when he went back home, he was the commander of police in the whole country. And so he kept on telling us about Sacramento. Then I put in my application to the school. That's how I got my admission. There was an international student advisor who was also in Uganda in the 60s, who was welcoming, and we were welcomed to come to Sacramento.
How much turmoil still exists in Uganda?
Right now, Uganda is, I should say, with an exception of having a leader who has stayed in power for almost as long as I have been here. Because when I was coming, he was just coming in. He was just 10 miles away from getting into the city. That's for me, that's what I see. But he has been able to maintain peace in the country. And so the country is at a point where it has peace for people to be able to do the things that they want to do. He has opened up many opportunities for businesses, for schools, for tourism, and all sorts of things that can happen in Uganda. It's a free economy right now, and you can see right now the Chinese are coming in in big numbers. The Indians are back in the country, so those are the things that I think are kind of steering up the country to be able to come to where it is right now.
So is your mother and your brothers and sisters, are they safe?
Yeah, right now they're safe, and I do communicate with them back and forth, and I've gone back to visit home, but I went back to an area where it is full of orphans. And since I left, it has been 26 years since I left, but I've gone back about 3 or 4 times to make sure that I help them in coming up, being that I was an orphan too, but I want to show them that yes, we can do it.
Now, in recent times, the past years, you've gone back to help at a school.
Yes.
Tell us more about the school, please.
Yeah. The school is there to help. It's a hand that goes into the community, because the country itself cannot hold. It cannot support all the orphans, because the orphans are made up of orphans of the war and orphans of parents who have died of AIDS. So a country is almost right now. It is even being led by young people. So the older people have passed on, they have passed away, and the young people are holding the country right now. But they need mentoring, they need leadership. All these things are important for a country to be on a strong foundation with values that can take it to the next stage or level.
As a child, did you go to church?
Oh, well, that is a very good question. I was in Uganda when we were born. You were born in a faith where which your parents are.
And that faith was?
And that faith was the Christian faith. But in the Christian faith, as I come to understand it, there are some other divisions. Like me, I belong to the Anglican Church, which has the Church of Uganda in Uganda, and then there is the Catholic faith. Now these two faiths were the major ones, and then the Muslim faith, which is over there, and 70% of the country are Christians. Now that is both combined. We call them the Protestants and the Catholics. They all go 70%, and 30% are Muslims. So these are things that have been happening in the country. So my grandparents, my parents have been Christians. So I grew up in the Christian faith all the way.
I was talking to Father Anthony down to St. Francis down the street here some months ago, and we were talking about the Protestants and the Catholics and Christianity as a whole, and he said to me, when he was a young man, people would say, well, I know you're a Catholic, but when are you going to become a Christian? And he said, I am a Christian. You know, Jesus is central to our church. And he said, one of his friends said, no, you're just a Catholic. And he said he laughed over it for quite a while, that he thought there was a great distinction between being a Catholic and a Christian. Now, are you active in a Christian church here in Sacramento?
Yes, when I came first, I got a little bit confused. I said, where should I go? Because I landed on 21st and I. That was my landing place. So I looked for a church to go to that was similar to ours. It wasn't that easy for me to do. But when I walked down the street, so I landed on to the Presbyterian Church on Carlson Drive, H and Carlson. And since then, that has been my church, and that's where I've been a member of Fremont Presbyterian Church on H and Carlson.
And that's a strong, active congregation here in Sacramento.
Yes, we've been having about 1,500 congregation membership in that church.
Now, are you married and do you have children?
Yes, I got married in that very church in 1992. I have a wife and 4 children.
Is your wife from Africa?
Yes, my wife is from Africa. Is from Uganda, but we met here.
Ah.
Yes.
And do your children just view themselves as they're just Americans?
That is true, and we've had this conversation, and at a certain point in time when you are, as I told you, 25 years of being in Uganda and 26 years of being in the U.S., but at times I'm stuck into this cultural thing, and the children tell me, Daddy, we are Americans.
Yeah, let's just go to McDonald's.
And that is kind of hard to, kind of hard to take. But I've come to understand, being that we all have different perspective on life, and being here for 26 years, I've come to assimilate in the American culture, that I accept now everybody as I see them, people from different faiths. Actually, last night I met my sister-in-law called me. He was telling me that I'm so much involved in church. What does it mean to be married to a person who of different faith? I said, don't let religion be in the way of what you need to do. We should transcend religion and be able to do the things we want to do. And I think that's what interfaith is all about.
I was going to say, we have grandchildren whose father is from the South Pacific Islands, and our daughter tries really, really hard to help them understand the cultures and the ways. Grandma's been here and spent some time on several occasions from the islands, and our daughter wants their children to understand all of that, but they don't really care right now. They're just American kids. Can we go get pizza and whatever else? They haven't quite latched onto that, and we're hopeful that they will, because half of their lineage is from another culture and another place, and we'd like them to know that. So, do you have hobbies? What do you do in your spare time?
Yes, I do, but I want to go back a little bit on the question that you asked regarding the children. At a certain point in time, I would like to make this clear, that cultures are the foundation of families, and we cannot throw them away, because when you throw that away, it's the identity that you have. And as you grow older, you begin to ask, who are you? And when you have that question and you don't have answers, really you can't, it's kind of hard to move on. And what are you going to pass on to the children? Yes, they can be Americans, but they need to know their roots. And with those roots, it helps us to know who we are. It gives us the self-esteem in everything that we do.
My mother grew up in the home of a rancher and a farmer, and so we knew all about cattle and raising food and all of those other sorts of things. My father grew up in a home where his father worked in the timber and was a logging expert who, in his spare time, hunted down mountain lions and bears that were killing other animals and that. And so on the one side, we heard all the adventure stories of the mountain lions and the bears and the big trees and all those other things. On the other side of the family, we heard about how to grow watermelon and cantaloupe and corn, and then, you know, how to brand and how to break a horse and all those other kinds of things. So even in just an American family, the cultures can be very different when they're brought together by a man and woman who marry. And then, so you make a really good point there. That will be wonderful if your children can have a fine balance there of what's from Uganda and what's from California.
Thank you.
Now, how did you come to interfaith?
As I was nominated from the Presbyterian Church to go represent the Fremont Presbyterian Church to the Sacramento Presbytery. Sacramento, just to let you know a little bit about there are many
Please.
Presbyterian churches in Sacramento, and the Presbytery is the next level of leadership in the Presbyterian churches. So this is a place where you get nominated and you go to serve on a committee. A committee that these are the committees that make policies and procedures for the Presbyterian churches around in the country. Before we were Sacramento, Stockton, and Nevada. But now we've broken down into 3 different presbyteries. Now Sacramento is by itself, independent. Stockton is independent, and Nevada is independent. So we have now 3 presbyteries right there.
Who do they answer to? I mean, is there, if they're like a diocese in the Catholic Church, is there a Presbyterian Church of America or?
Yes, right now the next level of leadership would be the synod. Now the presbytery answers to the synod, and then the synod also answers to the General Assembly. And that's where you will see the PCUSA.
And where is the synod located?
That is in Minneapolis.
Okay. Do you see Sacramento as a religious city?
Yes, I think Sacramento is a religious city, and being that it is composed of people from all walks of the world. I've seen many religious faiths which sometimes I've never come across, and they're doing different things. And so, as you see, for me, having been in Sacramento right now, it's about 26 years. I've seen it grow, and as it grows, churches are also growing. I've seen the most recent people that came from the Balkan states. I've seen, as the world has been changing, or the New World Order as they called it, I've seen Koreans come through Fremont Presbyterian Church, and we give them a place to worship, and they go and put up their own church. I've seen the Russians came, and we have opened the doors for them. In the morning it was American church, and in the afternoon it was the Russian church, all Russian spoken. And they have gone, they've bought their own church. Now they have mushroomed in different areas. And then the last one was the Ethiopian. They came as a small group, they started a church in a chapel, and right now they have bought their own church, and they're growing. So all these are in Sacramento, and it is what I'm talking about is only at Fremont. I don't know what is going on in other different faiths. So I think Sacramento is a place for faith.
And are all of these people bringing spirituality to Sacramento?
Yes, I think that's what I begin to see. I see more spiritual people. They care about issues of faith, and they engage. We find different groups that meet just for the sake of Bible study. In the morning, in the evening, women, men. And so it is just mushrooming right here in Sacramento as far as faith is concerned.
Are there a lot of children who are being taught about God and furthering religion?
Yes, this is what what I see. For example, we have a group, the Bible study for women. They bring their children with them when they come to do the Bible studies, and children have their own classes as Sunday school classes. On Sundays, we provide Sunday school classes for children. And children, if the parents take them to church, children will be inclined to go to church when they grow up. You don't force them, but you show them the way, and they will come into faith as they grow.
Do you and your family function some in an African society, or are you clearly worshiping with Fremont and pressing on with the American way?
Oh, as far as we're concerned, as far as worshiping, we're worshiping through Fremont, because as the children were baptized at Fremont, and so they are Fremont members. So we don't go into any other way, because growing up, I grew up in a church. As I said, my grandfather was a minister in the Anglican church, and my grandmother, by the way, she's 100 years now, and she's still serving in the church right there. And so when I was getting married, she sent me a Bible and a verse to read right there, and I still follow that. It's not any different from anywhere where we are.
I mentioned earlier about hobbies and things that you do in your spare time. What do you do for fun to keep balance in your life?
Yeah, really, I'm a person. I'm a community person, very busy in the community. I lead the Ugandan community here in Northern California. So I just had 200 Ugandans in California, right here in Sacramento, to meet and have our cultural food and talk about our children, what they're doing in the schools. So there are many things. And then in my spare time, I used to do marathons. I ran 26 miles. I did the San Diego Marathon. That was one of my best hobby that I had.
Did you run as a child?
Yes, my father was, and so I used to see her running. They called it cross country. Here we call it marathon, and so that's where I picked it up and decided. And I have also trained the Little League Soccer over River Park for 8 years. The kids from under 6 to all the way under 14. So
way to go! You're having fun.
So I've been in the community for all my time.
Tell us about the African Festival, which I attended last year, that will be held, we think, again next year.
Yes, I think the African Cultural Festival is a wonderful thing to have here in Sacramento, as you have many Africans which we haven't been paying attention to. They're centered right here in Sacramento, in different areas, and you find they do worship, like the Kenyans are in Rancho Cordova right there. They're trying to put up small churches and all that, but I think when we bring in the African Cultural Festival, it will bring all Africans together, and even the non-Africans, the Africans in the diaspora. It is going to be vibrant in Sacramento. It's a good thing for Sacramento, both in terms of faith, employment, and awareness about the world. As the world is beginning to open up, I think it is going to be good for America.
And in that spirit of awareness, are there specific issues in our churches and our families and in our faith that we could make better with a little more effort?
Yes, that's a very good question, John. Because what I see in our traditional churches, we have focused only to the American way of worshiping. And we have forgotten that the other people who are coming in, they also have different ways. Where in Uganda, we have churches that service spend 3 hours. And when the pastor come on, he begins to talk about the life on the village, the life, when he's preaching on the podium, he's bringing the people close, he's bringing a conversation and put it onto the Bible too. But then here we have services for 1 hour, strictly about the service, and all other things are done. Choir and other things are also done in that very time. So where's the time for that? So we need to rethink.
Give it a little more. Do you think that the personal, private practices of people, that they want to pray sort of in quiet or in secret, or they want to just practice the piano or the organ or read the Bible, how important is that, just the personal, private practice, versus coming together as a group for 2 or 3 hours to worship and to be together?
I think we have to think about individuals and a group collectively. We can't put everybody in one size fits all. We have to think about one person. How does he feel? Can we be of a service to that one person? And there are many more others of that nature. And then collectively, we think that, okay, when we come together, we can do these things collectively.
Leave the 99 sometimes and
Yes.
go find the one.
Yes.
If you could wave a magic wand for our society, and let's just say our city, and make something either get a lot better or go away so that we would become better, what would that be?
I think not being so much of self-centered. We need to open up to the world, and not fear of anything, because this is what we stand for as America, and that's how I feel as a person. Where I am, I don't fear anything, but I know I'm in a country where I have the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, as they say them. I feel that is a key thing to have, and we should portray that even outside. And that's why we are here.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be with you.
You're welcome.